South Alabama heads to Jordan-Hare Stadium in what is a crucial game for both teams.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into this special crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Sunbelt. I am host of Locked On Auburn, Zach Blackerby. Dave Schultz, host of Locked On Sunbelt. We will drop our official picks and predictions later in the show. What does Auburn need to do in this game? What does South need to do in this game? But Dave, start us off here. The South Alabama storylines going into this game. Somehow the first time these two teams have ever played is what?
Yes, this is a huge matchup, right, for South Alabama. We know it in Alabama, both Alabama and Auburn have come down to Mobile to play basketball. But to play football against Alabama or Auburn in the state of Alabama is absolutely huge.
Whole different ball game. So literally.
It's It's kudos to Auburn for allowing this to happen.
That's cool.
Because Alabama doesn't play in state schools in Alabama, regardless of what the previous coach used to say. Right. Nonetheless, so last year was Major Applewhite's first year as head coach, and it was just a roller coaster of a year, right? They had huge wins on national TV against App State. They went into Lafayette and beat the Cajuns, and then they had a big lead against Georgia Southern and lost that ball game. So it was a roller coaster of a season. And then they played in the first bowl game of the year, and they were missing their injured quarterback. They were missing a running back who was in the transfer portal and missing their star wide receiver who was getting ready for the NFL draft. Then they go out and win a bowl game. So really impressive job by Major Applewhite. And so try to get off this roller coaster that they played last year, and then they played Tulane, and the roller coaster was in one ball game. They got up 14 against Tulane, fell behind by 16, and lost by 2 at the end of the game when they couldn't convert a 2-point conversion. So they're very explosive offensively. Defensively is another question. They're very young in the secondary. A good top 5 of their cornerbacks all transferred out. Their top running back, one of the top running backs, in fact, the 2 top running backs, basically, in the Sun Belt last year, Fluff Bothwell, he transferred to Mississippi State, and Ahmad Hardy from ULM went to Missouri. So they both ended up in the SEC, probably with a little bag. So that's good good for both those guys. And Mississippi State is actually better than, well, at least I thought they are.
How about that?
Yeah. How about that? So it's a big deal that Alabama is playing South Alabama. I think that's great. As I've been telling Sunbelt fans for a couple weeks now, after we talked to Craig Stevenson, the beat writer from AL.com, look for the over. This is going to be a high-scoring game. We'll see if South Alabama can move the ball against Auburn's defense, right? They obviously looked very good against Ball State, a little bit lesser of a competition than they did the week before against Baylor, who did run the ball pretty well their first game. So South Alabama can run the ball. Bishop Davenport has been very efficient. He can both run and pass, and they have difficulty stopping somebody. So it's a challenge for South Alabama, but just the idea that these two teams are playing is fantastic.
Yeah, I think the way South played against Tulane, I think it kind of made a lot of Auburn fans perk up a little bit and say, like, hey, this is a team. This is a team that can move the football. I mean, Tulane's reputation, I think, has kind of climbed over the years. I don't think anybody's going to push back on that. And to kind of go toe-to-toe with them, I think, says something. What does that mean now to go to Jordan-Hare Stadium? Like you said, this is a big game. This means a lot, I think, to the South Alabama program, as it should. This is a huge opportunity for them in state. This is one of those things where, like, South Alabama is going to be up for this game, no matter what.
Right.
Auburn has plenty of reasons to not be up for this game.
You're absolutely right.
I think there's a chance that Auburn stumbles out of the gate a little bit. And it might be a little closer than some people think at halftime. And then I think overall talent, mainly in the trenches, kind of comes into play in the second half. That's kind of my rough prediction so far.
Well, we're going to find out about that. You're obviously, we talked about this, in predicting this ball game a few weeks ago, right? Because what's the next game? Right. The next game is Oklahoma. And let's be honest,
huge.
They've been thinking about this ball game since they finished Baylor. Right.
Yeah, right.
So they've been thinking about that for a few weeks. Not to mention, is this 11:45 a.m. Central Time game? Is that when this is starting? All right. So you're hydrating now. You started hydrating. Please tell me you're hydrating starting now, because it's going to be a long day. Although and you've done a tremendous job. But hashtag always a bright side. We could still lose. We'll end up losing a few LBS at the ball game, because that's what it's going to be in Jordan-Hare. So we're going to find out who's in shape, certainly at this end of the ball game, right? That's going to be a thing, right? Both coaches are going to be well aware of, cramping coming out of halftime, coming out of the AC.
It's wild that you mentioned that, Dave, because when Auburn went to Baylor, people that attended it, and then some of the players mentioned it, but like they're saying it's one of the hottest games they've ever played. And that game was Friday. It was a nighttime game, obviously.
Right.
Friday.
Right.
And it's just wild to hear like how hot that game was for everybody. I can't imagine, this one being cooler than that, but I mean, I don't know. It was barely too hot.
Right. You do get all day. The difference would be you do get all day to get ready for that compared to waking up first thing in the morning. So if that makes a difference. So both coaches are going to be cognizant of that. I tend to agree with you. I guess the one thing that always pops up, if Auburn plays loose and free with the football, it can go in the other direction fast. The only problem is what we saw last week with South Alabama and Tulane. South Alabama's defense is a little porous, and they're missing their linebacker, who was preseason player of the defensive player of the year, Blaine Myrick, and Ty Goodwell, defensive back, who's had a couple of pass breakups early on. We don't know their status for the ball game. So they both left.
What's your gut say on their availability?
I'm going to guess not. I'm going to guess. If
how
you
big
come
of
in
a
Monday,
deal would that be, Dave?
What was that?
How big of a deal would that be if they didn't play?
I think if you're missing your middle linebacker and your preseason defensive conference player of the year candidate, I think that's a big deal.
Big deal.
I think that's a big deal. So when the coach comes in on Monday and tells we're still going through testing, I got a feeling you're not playing on Saturday. They may not be long-term injuries, but I got a feeling they're not. Neither one of those guys are going to play. That's my gut. I don't know anything, but just reacting to what Major Applewhite said. I guess there could be gamemanship, but there's not much gamemanship when you see the guy on the field in the first play. So I presume he's not going to play.
Did he play against Tulane?
Yeah, they both got hurt. They both got hurt
at Tulane or against Tulane.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Then as far as like the Auburn injuries, Auburn's down 2 of their top 3 running backs, which is interesting. Damari Austin, questionable. I think he dresses. I don't think they want to play him. And then their third team guy, I mean, he had Darrell Robinson. I mean, he had this incredible run last week, and then he had suffered this fluke injury. They had to, rush him to Birmingham. He had like blood pooling up in his leg.
Oh my God.
And so he's got some incision. I mean, he's fine. It's just going to take a while for that incision to heal. You can't be a running back and have an incision on your leg. So,
No.
So like Jeremiah Cobb looked really good against Ball State last week. I believe it was the first 100-yard game of his career. And then they really like their true freshman, Omar Mabson.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Auburn's always going to have some running backs, and with the new, red shirt. Well, who knows what the red shirt rules are? Changes on a weekly basis.
Yeah, if you just sue the NCAA, you get more eligibility, right?
Right. The opportunity to play 4 ball games, you can play those guys. And I know you got to pick up the blitz, so it's more than just running. But I still think that the easiest jump going from high school to college is the running back.
Yeah, there's an it factor, right? Either you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And Cobb's weakest part of his game, and Hugh Freeze kind of hinted at it earlier this week, but like he's got to get better at blitz pickup. Then Omar Mabson just as a guy he's an early enrollee. Like he should be playing for Auburn High School, and he's playing for Auburn University.
No.
You don't typically see that part of a running back's game develop as a freshman. That usually takes some time. So something to watch, something to monitor.
Yeah, he's going to be in on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 8 and, run left, just hang on to the football and hit the hole.
Yeah. So we'll see exactly what happens there, at least moving forward. So what does South Alabama need to do to pull this upset? That's next right here on this crossover edition of Locked on Auburn and Locked on Sunbelt. Today's show brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend, Dave. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver to when it matters most. I'll go with Jeremiah Cobb. We just mentioned his name, but he stepped up as RB1 this past week against Ball State. Career highs for him. And I think he's going to hear his name called a lot this weekend as well. So I'll go Jeremiah Cobb for the Auburn side of this.
Well, I'll say Texas State's Brad Jackson had a fantastic ball game against UTSA, probably the biggest win that the Sun Belt has had so far this year. They went to San Antonio and took down the Roadrunners. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. He's very solid. He is the youngest quarterback that so far G.J. Kinney has had, and so they usually have a big transfer in there, and they're going to develop a quarterback to finish up their reign in the Sun Belt and then move on to Pac-12 2.0. So Brad Jackson would be the guy for me.
Man, just like these guys deliver for their teams, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it all up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday to keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, promo period through November 18th. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model, Dave.
Big fan of the Mazda. They are good, solid automobiles.
Yes. Yeah. With all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you so much for making Locked on Auburn or Locked on Sunbelt your first listen every single day. Make Locked on Auburn or Locked on Sunbelt your second listen every single day. Support our shows. We would really, really appreciate it. Both of us would. Dave, open-ended question. South Alabama, they want to go into Jordan here and pull this upset. I'm sure that they're talking about New Mexico State a few years ago. If they want to do a similar thing, they have to do what?
Well, they're going to need some help from Auburn. But what I want to dispel in these things, because I don't think it's the case. When you're looking at these things, does Auburn have to play a perfect game? Do they have to play their A game and Auburn play their F game? I don't think so. All right. If South Alabama's playing B+ and Auburn throws in C-, then it's a toss-up. All right. I hate that idea that you have to play perfect, but you can't make foolish mistakes, right? JMU misses a wide open wide receiver for a touchdown against Louisville. It could have been 7-0, 3 plays into the ball game.
Sure.
They also missed a pick 6. So instead of leading 7-6 at halftime, it easily could have been 14-0 in the second quarter. And who knows where we go from there. Last week, Clemson and Troy. Troy's going down to make it. It was 16-3, and they get a foolish penalty. Pushing one of the defensive linemen. So instead of kicking a closer field goal or maybe a touchdown, they go into half 16-3 instead of 23-3 or 19-3. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but you can't make those foolish mistakes, and you have to take advantage of your opportunities. I do think they're going to need some help from Auburn. All right. If Auburn's playing their A game, it's going to be very tough for South Alabama to win. So they're going to need to rush the football. They're going to need to not turn over the football, and they're going to need to take advantage of their opportunities. And if you think probably some Auburn fans also think this, right? It's an early ball game. We'll see how much. Jordan Hare is going to be packed. How excited the fans are going to be there before noon is also going to play something in it. So see if South Alabama can get off to a good start and take advantage of maybe a little, trying to, get the sleep out of their eyes and start fast. But they're probably going to need a couple of Auburn turnovers and a few Auburn mistakes to win this. If you're talking about winning the football game, yes. Yeah. I think they might be able to cover because the spread is a little bit large. But winning the football game, they'll have to play well, and Auburn's going to have to play off. If they both play their A game, it's going to be a fun ball game because South Alabama can move the game, can move the ball. So
there'll be a lot of points if they both play their A game for sure. Yeah, and a lot of things you mentioned, like that's kind of what's held Auburn back under Hugh Freeze in the first 2 years. This year, small sample size, but they've done better at taking care of the football and not beating themselves. It's been 2 games this year, but they kind of had opportunities to do it against Baylor, and they didn't. They executed. And a lot of that, I think, comes to how Jackson executed versus how other quarterbacks have executed since Hugh Freeze has been here, which is what you want. That's what you asked for. That's why you went out and got Jackson Arnold and a better O-line and these receivers because better players help you win football games. Shocker. To me, the aspect of just to piggyback what you said about South, Auburn has not started quickly. They have not started fast in either game so far. And then really even in the second half against Ball State, it kind of took them a little bit to get going. Both Auburn's only played night games so far. What happens when they scoot it up a little bit earlier? Traditionally, Auburn seems to kind of be flat in these types of games historically. So to me, yeah, like I would love to see Auburn have a fast start and kind of kill any sort of hope that South has early. And then, I think it could kind of go all Auburn's direction after that. But you can't give them hope. You can't give a team that's coming in that's super fired up that wants to upset you hope. Start fast. You can get up 10-0, 14-0 early. It kind of makes South Alabama think, oh, okay, yeah, this is what we thought, could happen. And all of a sudden, you're behind the 8 ball as the less talented team.
So a couple of things about that. South Alabama has gotten off to a fast start. All right. I know the first game was against Morgan State, but still got off to a fast start.
Morgan's not a state.
Right. So they have gotten off to a fast start, scored a couple of touchdowns early against Tulane. And so we're talking about Auburn looking ahead. Yeah. But at the same time, like you said, the way they played against Tulane last week perked up Auburn fans. It had to perk up the Auburn coaches. And that only has to help. Hey, if you guys don't play your A game, the last thing we want is to have to go down and score in the last 5 minutes or stop them in the last 5 minutes, right? Yeah. This should be what I like to call a fourth quarter ball game where we're getting that too deep in there and seeing some of the reserves get some time. But again, if you screw around and you fall behind and then you have an untimely turnover, which I guess they're never timely, but you don't want to stub your toe if you're Auburn. And like you said, if South Alabama starts fast, it could get interesting because they would have hope.
Yeah. And then just to kind of say, one other thing that I think Auburn needs to do against Ball State, they definitely tried to force themselves to play left-handed. They definitely use that as a tune-up game to work on drop back passing, which is not Jackson's strength. He's fine passing off of RPO when it's one read or do this. I think that's his strength. That's why you went out to get him. And he's got the athleticism to follow through with that. I'd like to see them just do that. Treat this as a dress rehearsal for Oklahoma. Don't worry about, getting better at a certain spot that you're not going to use in your offense a ton this year. When it's not who you are. This isn't Ball State. I think South is significantly better than Ball State. I don't think that's a crazy take at all. I'm sure you'll agree with that. Treat them like a real opponent because they are a real opponent. And I would like to see them run their full offense, run their normal offense. Don't try to do stuff to work on it, to fine tune things for the season. Treat it like a dress rehearsal because your real season is about to really get going.
Yeah.
But you got to win this game.
Do you think they changed the game plan a little bit? They adjusted because the passing game wasn't playing well against Baylor, and they're like, let's just run the football because Baylor can't seem to stop the run.
Well, no, they didn't try to throw it against Baylor. Baylor had 2 high safeties the entire game. They didn't load the box, and so you're going to run it. You're going to run it against that front. Yeah, yeah. And then that's the way Ball State played too. They played quarters. They had 4 guys deep. They were like, "You're just not going to throw it deep on us. We'll let you do everything else."
No.
And they did.
Well, they did. I mean, when was the last time Jackson Arnold was 24? Was that 24, 28? I mean,
24, 28. Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Super efficient with the football. And so I'm curious to see how South plays them defensively because so far, everything has just been let's take away the pass. We're going to let you run on us. I'm curious to see what South does.
Well, as if you're going to get beat defensively, I'm much more of an aggressive guy. Why do I need to be on the field for 5 minutes as you methodically go down the field? Let's see if you can hit it over the top. All right. And if I miss a gap because you guys hit a running play, okay, that's going to happen. But let me get after the quarterback. Let me go after Jackson Arnold. There's no reason to sit back and see my team on the field for 4 minutes when maybe if I force the issue, I force a turnover, I may get beat. I probably will get beat somewhere along the way. But I'm not going to sit there for 60 minutes and watch you methodically go down the field, dinking and dunking 24 out of 28. Let me see if you can make a play over the top.
Yeah. Also, just if I was defending Auburn, I know Jackson can run it. I know Jeremiah Cobb can run it. I know this offensive line is pretty good up front, especially at run blocking. I'd rather, I know you invested all this money in one of the arguably best receiving corps in college football on paper, but I haven't seen you use them at a high level yet. I would make you throw to them. We're in agreement there. Will South do that? I don't know. I can't wait to see.
Well, that is their one. They are lacking experience back there. They may have some talent, but it is very much inexperience. They had a bunch of good players transfer out.
Yeah, so we'll see. That'll be something to watch. Our official picks and predictions next, right here on Locked On Auburn and Locked On Sunbelt. So sorry. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn and Locked On Sun Devils your first. I'm so sorry. Sunbelt. What am I doing? Dave Schultz. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sports book. If you're new to FanDuel, $5. Your first $5 bet hits $300. Crazy.
That's nuts.
That's crazy. Auburn, a 25.5-point favorite over South. And then the over-under's at 54.5. I think most people are going to think the over is juicy there. You kind of hinted at it earlier.
I do.
We'll give our official picks in a second. But obviously, NFL is going. College football is going. We are so back, and you need to be on FanDuel. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn and Locked On Sunbelt your first listen every single day. Zach Blackerby, Dave Schultz here with you. We just mentioned it on FanDuel, but Auburn, a 25.5-point favorite. What is your pick prediction for this game, Dave?
I'm going to go 42-24 Auburn. It would be interesting. I think South Alabama is going to get off to a good start, but I do think that talent takes over towards the end of the ball game, and on paper, Auburn has that. But if they mess around, as almost Tulane did last week, you can find out what happens. So that would be not only can South Alabama move the football, but down 16 in the fourth quarter, they didn't roll over and die either. So you need to put them away when you get the chance. And so there's that kind of hope. Bishop Davenport's been in the program for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he got his chance because Gio Lopez, for those who don't know, he was going to be the starting quarterback. He was coming back, said he was coming back. Some guy named Belichick came with $4 million over a couple of years to go play quarterback for Carolina. No hard feelings there for sure. So Bishop Davenport is the guy. They brought in Zach Byron from Georgia Tech in Minnesota.
Okay.
But he came in after the spring, so he's behind the 8 ball there. And Bishop Davenport's looked pretty good. In 2 ball games, he's been very efficient. Brought him almost all the way back last week. So again, if you're Auburn, don't screw around because South Alabama could be there at the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go a little lower than you. I'm going to go like 38-17 Auburn.
That's like right on the over-under line.
Yeah.
My understanding is that there would be no math, and you're making me do math.
I didn't say that. Yeah, so I think I'm going to kind of live around there. Well, one thing I want to see, Auburn leads the SEC in tackles for loss. They're one of the best run-stopping defenses in college football right now, statistically. Some of that had to do with they played Ball State.
Sure.
Like, let's just be honest. They can't pass the ball. They sold out and stop the run because why wouldn't you? I want to see them continue that this week. Athletic quarterback, solid quarterback, like you said. They're about to go on this run of seeing a lot of really good quarterbacks. And so how you defend him possibly could set the tone for what you see over the next few weeks with John Mateer, Marcel Reed, Gunnar Stockton, Bo Perbula. Like, it's about to get real. Taylor Green. It's about to get real quick. Yeah. And so go ahead and set the tone. You haven't really played against a mobile quarterback that is a threat to run and pass. You're about to essentially for the rest of the season. And so let's see how this Auburn defensive front seven gets after them. That is the matchup I'm watching most specifically on Saturday, because I think that's important, obviously, for the outcome Saturday, but also for the outcome for literally the entire season.
So a couple of guys that Auburn fans need to keep an eye on: Kentrell Bullock. John Summerall from Tulane wanted him, trying to transfer from Ole Miss. He ended up at South Alabama. He was told he's an NFL back. He is. Say his name again, please. Kentrell Bullock.
Okay.
He's the running back. Started all last year, although he did split time with Fluff Bothwell. And then Devin Boyson. Devin Boyson has been one of those guys that been hurt, got the COVID year. South Alabama has been playing FBS football for 14 years. He's been there for half. This is his 7th year. So, and he's very good. Yeah. He a couple of years ago, along with Colin Lacey, who transferred to Louisville, they were top 5 in the Sun Belt in receiving. And then he got banged up and maybe didn't have his great year last year. but he's off to a fantastic start. Did have a punt return for a touchdown against Morgan State. So offensively, look for the running back Bullock and the wide receiver Devin Voisin. Very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hugh Freeze highlighted both of South Alabama's receivers. I think it was number 1 and number 11. Highlighted the running back, highlighted the quarterback. And then the way he talked about the defense is, we kind of joked about it earlier because he said it seemed like he said it like 10 times, but they like to muddy it up. So like with fronts and stunts and all that is kind of what I took on it. Then their defensive stats weren't as good as the way he was talking about them. So I'm curious to see like what that matchup is. But yeah, does Auburn run right at them? Does the fact that they only have 2 healthy like running backs change how they run at them? Like, I don't know. There's a few questions going into this that I can't wait to see how they sort themselves out. But yeah, the big question is Auburn going to be looking ahead to Oklahoma. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, I think the biggest thing of that is that Tulane didn't roll over South Alabama. It'd be different if it was 35-7,
Sure,
and then they would be all looking at Oklahoma. But all you got to do is 33-31. If you take that team lightly, the last thing Auburn wants to be is defending a 2-point conversion at the end of the ball game to try to hang on and win it.
Yep. Dave, for all the Auburn folks watching, how can they check out everything you've got going on?
We put Locked On Sunbelt, and we'll have a preview of this ball game as well. All of them on Friday. We're at SchultzCast on the YouTubes, and of course on X/Twitter, SchultzCast. So you can do that as well. I am just deeply disappointed we did not get a 2-stepping radio legend Darrell Depprich on the show.
I know it.
It's a major letdown. Yeah.
I know it. He was so excited about Darrell Robinson's touchdown and then his touchdown dance. There are some rumors that Darrell did that exact same dance on the field. It's all rumor.
Right.
It's all rumor. There's no proof. No one's provided any proof yet.
Or denied it.
And I don't know if he's denied it. That's a good point. That's a good point. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been a crossover edition of Locked on Auburn and Locked on Sunbelt.